So yes, I struggled with pornography. Sounds even funny saying this because I never thought I would be one of those people that could literally sit down and share what I've struggled with and what I've been through. But hey, yes, I struggled with pornography ever since a very young age. I think I was exposed to it, I think I was about, I'm really not sure, but it was during primary school. And what would really happen, I remember a friend asked me when I was like opening up about it, and she had asked me like, what exactly like made you fall into it? And for me, all I can say was just curiosity. I was never forced into it. I was never around any, like I didn't have like elder like cousins around me, elder siblings around me that would speak of such things and then you would ignite. No, it was literally just being a child, and obviously you grew up around school, we go around different people, and obviously that was the conversation. When something is taboo and you get the chance to like see exactly why is this thing hidden, your curiosity gets the best of you. So that's exactly what happened to me. My curiosity got the best of me, and that's how I started getting into pornography. And I never really delved like straight into pornography. It was a thing of, it would start with like watching Disney cartoons, not Disney cartoons, but like Disney shows where a couple is kissing, a cute couple is kissing, and then after that it would be like long kisses, and then there would be like those scenes, you know, where they would like kiss, and then you can see that it's about to go further, but then the show ends. And your mind is just like, what happens after that? Curiosity got the best out of me. I didn't grow up around a hostile environment or anything of sorts. Like nothing ever happened to me that would make me all of a sudden fall into pornography that I can use as a leverage and say that this is exactly what happened. Or I don't think so, at least. But yes, that's what happened. And it just goes into and then goes into research. And then one thing about the world, darling, and one thing about the internet, if you're looking for something, you're gonna find it. You're gonna find it, okay? And I found it, right? And that's how then I got hooked. The funny thing about it though, like I'm saying, I started watching pornography at a very, during primary school. I think this was about grade 5, 6, around that time, right? And I never knew that it can get addictive until grade 9 in high school. So what happened was I knew that I was doing something wrong, right? Duh. Like why I hid it, understand? I knew I was doing something wrong, but I just never understood the the level of danger I was putting myself into. Obviously, this is like how many years? 10 years, 11-year-old Khwezi, right? And grade 5 goes, grade 6 goes, 7, 8. And then I remember in grade 9, when I was in grade 9, the conversation of pornography rose up. And it rose up in like a joking sense, where someone was actually talking about like doing something that you're not supposed to, then somehow like explicit content being pornography, the topic of it then was raised, right? And then this one guy says, do you know that pornography can be addictive, right? And then everyone like around the desk was like, yeah. And I'm there like, it can be addictive. I did not know. Like I was so shocked, like I was utterly shocked, right? I remember that day I went back home and I was like, what? And I searched pornographic addiction, and it literally just came up with a flood of information that this is how you know you're addicted. This is the cycle. It starts with you watching it and then promising yourself that you're never going to do it again. And then when the urge comes and then you fail to stop yourself or like hold yourself, and then all of a sudden it goes back again and you go back again, and then you promise to never do it. It's just a whole cycle. And I think the scariest moment in that moment was me realizing that, oh my gosh, that is me. That's literally me. I watch it, promise to never do it, the urge comes, and then I end up doing it all over again. And the constant guilt and shame was just horrible, was utterly horrible. And I think in that moment, it was a thing of, I'm like way too in deep in this thing. Because remember, this is like, wait, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, when I found out that it can actually be addictive, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm way too in deep into this, right? And it didn't stop there. Like, I didn't stop then. I didn't fight off the addiction then, but it was a thing of, I would continuously do it knowing exactly that, Khwezi, you're addicted to this. And I think just finding that information kind of affirmed it. It scared me, but it didn't scare me away, because it was a thing of, oh well, I'm addicted to it, right? That was the mentality. And I have to say, I grew up in a family where we're all Christians, we're all saved, church, we go to church, and I'm not talking about legalistic Christianity, no. Like, I grew up in a very loving home, in a family of believers, and not like strict believers, don't know, like a very proper family. And when I found that out, like I'm saying, it didn't stop. The spiral continued. And yeah, I can't see that, but yes, the spiral continued, and it got very deep. It got into the feeling, it got very serious, because it went to a point where, Khwezi, you know what you're doing is wrong, but I can't stop. You know what you're doing is wrong, but I can't stop. All right? And at that time, I hadn't taken my relationship with Christ very seriously, but I knew what I was doing was wrong. I mean, maybe I didn't have the deep, like, spiritual understanding of like conviction and all of that, but for me, young Khwezi at that time was, if you can hide it from your parents, or leave parents out, like we hide a lot of things from our parents, but if you can even hide it away from your siblings or your cousins that you share everything from, there is shame attached to it, there is regret attached to it, there is, you know what you're doing is wrong, right? And so it got very deep, it got very serious, and this knowledge and knowing that this is a cycle, and my mind telling me that you cannot break away from this, it started getting very suicidal, right? I started getting suicidal, and it was hard, okay? It was very hard. I remember this one time, I woke up this morning and I literally just watched porn, and then the way I prayed that morning, and this is Khwezi that hadn't taken Christ seriously, and I remember praying that morning and I was crying. I remember my mom came in the room and she was like, what is going on? And I couldn't say it because, what is my mom gonna say? And I'm my mom's first daughter, so it's like the shame, like the responsibility, like your sisters, like, is this the example you're setting for your sisters and stuff? And so that's how deep it got. And because I'm one of those people where I'm not very quick to do stuff without considering other people, like how they would feel. Well, I was very deep into people pleasing at that time. Now, don't play me. Don't play me. But yeah, and that was a lot going in my mind. Like every time I would fall into it, it's like, damn, Khwezi, like, we need to get out of this. But then because, hey, you're addicted, it's a cycle, you can't get out of it, then the only way out of it was then just dying, right? And that's when I started getting very suicidal. That's when it started getting very serious. And it was so strong that in times where, like, you're alone in your room and there's like no one in your room. I used to share a room with my sister, and there's no one in your room. You would literally see an opportunity, you would literally see a chance, and it's like, listen, there's no way out of this. This is the time that you can get out of it. Like just end your life. Just end your life. It's so funny to think about it now. The devil is such a liar. Oh my gosh. And it got very bad. It got very bad. But because I just never had that bravery, I just never had that strength to do that, because I'd keep thinking, like, the pain that my sisters would go through, the pain that my parents would go through, the pain that my family would go through. And I guess like a part of me was still very quite optimistic that nah man, there's just no way that this is the only way out. Like, I'll figure a way out. I'll see. But the reality is I still kept on falling. I still kept on falling. Right? But this was until grade 11. Grade 11, this is now when COVID was a very problematic big thing. Like, COVID was overtaking the world, okay? And during that time, I remember it was June 6th. June 3rd, I decided to, like, hey, let's just start reading our Bible. Let's just start taking, this Jesus thing, like this Jesus walk seriously. And this is now 16-year-old Khwezi. I started reading my Bible, go in the morning or like during the day. I would literally go to like the outside house, and I will get there, read my Bible, watch sermons, and I was doing this very consistently from the 3rd of June. On the 6th of June, 2020, I watched a sermon by Mike Todd. I can't remember the sermon, but it has something about fire and burning and desire. You know Mike Todd, okay? And this is baby Christian, right? And I watched that sermon, and I think he was speaking at a youth conference, not at his church. It was I think it was Switch Youth, I don't know. But I watched that sermon, not knowing. I don't think I knew that it was going to speak about like sex, pornography, and how it's like not good, and how sex is for marriage and all of that stuff, right? I don't think I knew. Like, something just drew me. I don't exactly remember where my mind was at in that moment. So like something just drew me at it, and I just went, right? I just watched the video. Guys, when I tell you, that video came from my hair, my edges, my ears, my eyes, my nose, my mouth. It grabbed everything. It grabbed everything, and I was crying. I was crying. I was in tears. I was that day, I've never felt so exposed. I've never felt so exposed. Exposed. How do you say it? I never felt so vulnerable without having said a word. I was just shook. I was just shocked. I was just overwhelmed. And now, prior to that moment, because like I'm saying, I started reading the Bible on the 3rd of June. Like, every single time after reading that Bible, like, I'm feeling, man, like, I'm getting like, oh my gosh, now remember, I do have some knowledge of Christ because I grew up in a very Christian family, a family of believers. We're all saved, right? So for me, this was such like a growth moment, because I took the initiatives. I myself, it felt like I was saying, you know what, you don't have to tell me anymore. I want to know, and I want to get to know this Jesus that we live for so much in this family, and I somehow find myself into it, you understand? So, and every single time after I read the Bible and I pray and there's worship, the Lord is there thing that, Khwezi, but you need to tell someone. Someone needs to help you, right? And I would read like Bible plans, like 40 days, of trying to be pornography free for women, you understand? Because pornography for women is still quite a taboo, like, because it's very common in men, right? So that was the other thing, not just pornography, but pornography as a woman, like, come on, you understand? So that's what happened. Yes, that day, the 6th of June, after I watched that, I'm in tears, I am bawling. My mom is in her room in the main house. She's asleep. Guys, I'm telling you, at that time I didn't know it was the Holy Spirit, but now I know it's the Holy Spirit. He told me, go and tell your mom now. Go now. Like, go now. And one thing I forgot to say is that during high school, like, I mean, that was grade 11 when the whole thing happened. Like, during grade 9, grade 10, I had told like 2 friends of mine, but like in a very subtle way, you know, because I was really trying to get out of this. Like, I would really try to get out of this, but nothing would ever feel like that load is off my shoulders, because it's like I'm telling people that probably don't even have like an understanding or like a certain capacity of what exactly it is that I'm going through, and also they can't do anything for me, right? And it's not like they're gonna hold me accountable, right? And because that's what I wanted someone that was above me, someone I'm fearful of. And when I say fearful, I mean like reverence and respect, which was obviously my parents, right? And that's what keeps you accountable. And I knew that, right? But I'll try to like tell my friends to just get out of telling my parents, right? But that day, 6th of June 2020, God said, wrap it up, my lovey. God said, it's time. Guys, when I tell you, I do not know what carried me. I always say when I tell the story, I don't think I was the one walking to my mom's room. I don't know what carried me that day. I was crying, snots were coming out. Like, it felt like I was asleep, and then next thing I woke up right in front of my mom's door. I don't know what carried me that day. It felt like the Holy Spirit was saying, no, Lala, it's time. And he was pushing me. Next thing I saw was in front of my mom's door. I vividly remember turning around and then coming back, turning around and then coming back. But something in me was just like, do it now. Do it now. I just knew that if I don't do it now, I don't think I'll ever do it. I knock on that door. Now she's asleep. I knock on that door and she's asleep. And then I eventually like just come in. I just barge in the door, right? I barge in the door and my mom is there sleeping. I am crying. I wake her up. I'm like, Mom! And then she wakes up and she's like, Khwezi, what's wrong? And I'm like, yeah, guys, that day, like, we're laughing because it was not funny then. It was not funny then. Like, it literally was not funny then. I sit down, she sits up, and I tell her. I don't even remember what I said. I don't know what were my words, but I tell her, and I'm like, Ma. Essentially, I just said, Ma, I've been dealing with this, and I've been trying to stop, but I can't stop, and it's making me feel suicidal. I know it's wrong. I apologize. Guys, I love my mom so much. I love my mom so much. We're not about to cry again. I love my mom so much. I remember that day, because remember now, I was very like scared of the fact that she was gonna like shout at me and like hit me and like reject me, because that's genuinely the response that you like wait for, right? And she looked at me and she said, she literally looked at me and she was like, Khwezi, is that what you wanted to tell me? And I'm like, yes, that's what I wanted to tell you. And she literally said, it's okay. People go through this. we will deal with it. Guys, she said, it's okay. People deal with this. We'll get through this. We will get through this together. If you need therapy, we'll go to therapy. Like, we'll get through this. It's not the end of the world. People go through this. I think in that moment, for me, that was such a solidifying moment, because that right there depicted the picture of Christ. It depicted the picture of God, that I'm not rejecting you. It felt like that was God right there. That was Jesus right there saying, I just needed you to come and confess your sins, and I'll help you get through it. And I think that moment there is one of the most significant moments for my relationship with Christ, where it's, if this woman that follows Christ so much, that prays so much, can do this, surely the God and the Christ she follows is the same way and even better. When I speak of that, it makes me tear up so much, because fear holds back so many things. Like, the devil is such a liar, man. He is such a liar. And it's just, and I just want to pop it and say, even if that is not the experience that you had, even if someone like spoke shame unto you, even if someone like said a comment or something that was so discouraging, guys, God is there. Christ is there. God will send people that will affirm you. God will send people that will love you with the love of Christ, right? He will, like, I'm telling you. And don't even wait for that person. Just run to him. Just run to him, right? And really, she supported me. She supported me throughout. She walked me through it. We went to therapy. I went to therapy. She was there for my first session, like just for the intro session, because therapists like to have a one-on-one. And so that is my story. And I just want to say, it didn't end there, because like I'm saying, this was grade 11, and I did therapy also into matric, but only for a short while in matric. But the addiction was still a problem until my second year in varsity. So literally last year, early this year, right? Early this year, because I'm doing my third year now. And remember, I'm in church. My relationship with God is still going, and I just refused to give up, because it's not a quick thing, right? It's not always a quick thing, where even if you're Christian and walking, you're gonna struggle with certain things, right? The same way one may struggle with swearing, the same way one may struggle with what else, like attitude and jealousy. It's a work in progress with everything. It's really a work in progress with everything. So yeah, it's just one of those things where, but my mom walked me through every single thing, right? And crazy enough, in matric, I found friends, right? Because there were a lot of things that I had to abandon, including people, if I really wanted to take this walk with Christ very seriously. There were a lot of things that I had to abandon, right? So in matric, I found new friends, and only to find that God really brought us together, because they were also struggling with the same thing. And it was just like, okay, really, accountability is a real thing in my life, and it works, right? It really, really does work. And when I would fall, I would have to be very vulnerable, right? I would have to be very vulnerable and be open about it, right? So they can hold me accountable. And so, like I'm saying, this carried on into varsity until second year, early third year, right? That this year. Until I decided, no more. I always hear people say, there's nothing as powerful and nothing as strong as a made-up mind. Like for me, when I started taking Christ seriously and I was still struggling with pornography, I used to get so angry when people used to say, bruh, like, just do it God's way. And I'm like, what is it that I'm not doing? I'm going to church, I'm this, I'm that, I'm reading my Bible, I'm praying, and what is it that I'm not doing? It got to a point where I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do it my own way. I remember I was speaking to our student pastor, like student leader, right? He works in the church. And I was like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm tired of the whole, like, just trust God and do it. What more must I do now? You understand? And until it got to a point where I understood what they meant when they say do it God's way. Until I understood what they meant. And by the way, not that I understood, I saw it myself.